I look so much like my dad, maybe not now, but what about if I do this?
Have you ever wondered what Don Knotts, the man who made millions laugh as the bumbling Barney Fife on the Andy Griffith Show, whispered with his final breath? His last words were so unexpected that even his daughter kept them secret for years. And when she finally revealed the truth, fans were stunned. Stay with me, because this story of Don Knotts' final moments will break your heart and inspire you in ways you never imagined. Before he was America's favorite deputy, Don Knotts was Jesse Donald Knotts, a shy, skinny boy from Morgantown, West Virginia. But his childhood was far from the cheerful world he later brought to television. His father battled schizophrenia and alcoholism, sometimes lashing out violently. Don even recalled nights when his father threatened him with a knife. It was terrifying. So, little Don escaped the only way he knew how, with imagination. He invented characters, voices, even an imaginary partner, a ventriloquist dummy named Danny. That dummy wasn't just a toy. It was his first comedy stage, his safe place when the world around him felt too dark. But then tragedy struck again. His beloved brother Sid, the only one who shared his comic spark, died suddenly of an asthma attack. Don was devastated, and comedy became more than a pastime. It became survival. But even as the odds stacked against him, Don's determination to bring joy to others only grew stronger. When World War II came, Don joined the army. But instead of fighting on the battlefield, he fought fear and despair with humor. Performing in Stars and Gripes, the Army's touring variety show, he kept soldiers laughing in the darkest of times. For the first time, Don saw the true power of his gift, his awkward energy, his wide-eyed expressions. They could lift entire rooms. After the war, he returned home with medals of honor, a sharper stage presence, and an unshakable dream. He knew comedy was his calling. Yet New York wasn't easy. He faced rejection after rejection, too nervous, too odd, too strange, the casting directors said. But Don refused to quit. And then, fate stepped in. In 1955, on Broadway's No Time for Sergeants, Don met Andy Griffith. On stage, their chemistry was electric. Off stage, they became close friends. Neither of them knew it yet, but this was the beginning of one of the greatest comedy duos in television history. When the Andy Griffith Show launched in 1960, Don called Andy jokingly and said, "You're gonna need a deputy, and it better be me." That call changed television forever. As Deputy Barney Fife, Don was unforgettable. The jittery hands, the high-pitched voice, the desperate attempt to prove himself in a town that adored Andy's calm sheriff, America fell in love instantly. Don's performance earned him 5 Emmy Awards and a permanent place in TV history. But behind the laughter, his personal life was far from picture perfect. While America laughed, Don battled crippling anxiety. Off-screen, he sometimes couldn't even get out of bed before a performance. Doctors prescribed medication, and he grew dependent. He also struggled with hypochondria, constantly convinced he was gravely ill. His marriage to Catherine Metz, his college sweetheart, cracked under the pressure. After 13 years and 2 children, they divorced. Don loved his kids deeply, but his own demons often pulled him away. To the world, he was a comic genius. But in private, he was a man haunted by fears he could never quite silence. In the late 1960s and 70s, Don tried to reinvent himself as a movie star with films like The Incredible Mr. Limpet and The Reluctant Astronaut. While charming, none reached the heights of his Barney Fife fame. His own variety show flopped. Hollywood saw him as a sidekick, not a leading man. And yet, Don never lost his charm. Known as a surprising ladies' man, he dated often, but his struggles with health and anxiety followed him everywhere. Then came devastating news. Doctors told Don he was losing his eyesight to macular degeneration. Imagine, the man whose comedy relied so much on his expressions was going blind. It broke his spirit, and eventually his second marriage to Laura Lee crumbled. But Don wasn't finished yet. In the 1980s, while working on a sitcom, Don met actress Frances Yarborough. Despite their huge age gap, she saw through his fame and frailty, falling for his vulnerability. They married in 2002. For For the first time in years, Don seemed at peace. But then, tragedy returned. Years of smoking had caught up with him. Don was diagnosed with lung cancer. Even as the disease spread, he kept the truth from his children. Why? Because he wanted to keep making them laugh, right up to the very end. And that's exactly what he did. In February 2006, Don's health collapsed. Surrounded by family, including his daughter Karen, he lay in his hospital bed, frail but still sharp. And even then, even dying, Don couldn't stop cracking jokes. Karen later admitted through tears, he was literally dying, but he did something or said something that made us laugh so hard, I had to leave the room. She regretted walking out, afraid it looked disrespectful to laugh as her father took his last breaths. A friend later told her, Karen, that's exactly what he wanted. You should have stayed and laughed. That was his gift. And she realized he was right. Don Knotts lived to make people laugh, in life and in death. His final words weren't cries of fear, but punchlines. His curtain call wasn't silence, but laughter. In his final hours, another familiar face arrived, Andy Griffith. Their friendship had drifted, but the bond of Mayberry never truly died. Andy sat by Don's bedside, held his shoulder, and whispered, I love you, Jess. Keep breathing. Jess, Don's real name, one he rarely let anyone use. But from Andy, it was the ultimate sign of love and loyalty. Don, unable to speak, moved his shoulders slightly. It was his way of saying, I hear you, old friend. Thank you. Hours later, Don Knotts passed away at 81. Today, a statue of Don stands in Morgantown, West Virginia. His wide-eyed smile frozen in bronze, reminding the world of the boy who turned pain into comedy. He wasn't perfect. He battled anxiety, heartbreak, and fear. But his laughter became a gift to generations. Every time you watch Barney Fife fumble with his single bullet, you're not just watching a sitcom. You're seeing the resilience of a man who survived a broken home, a war, illness, and heartbreak, yet still chose to make us smile. And maybe that's the real secret of Don Knotts. His final words weren't shocking because they were sad. They were shocking because, even at the end, he gave us one last laugh. So what about you? Did Don Knotts' Barney Fife ever make you laugh until your sides hurt? Share your favorite Don Knotts moment in the comments. I'd love to hear your memories. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories, and click on the next video you see on screen. Because legends like Don Knotts may leave this world, but their laughter never dies.